Welcome everybody. This meeting of the School Board of Trustees is subject to the open meeting law, is being recorded in accordance with section 2-2-301, 2-3-202, 2-3-203, 2-3-214 MCA. All members of the board, committee, staff, and public in attendance are advised that the public portions of this meeting will be recorded in both an audio and video format. Cameras and recording devices are placed throughout the meeting room to complete these recordings. Everyone in attendance is reminded to honor basic rules of decorum during the meeting and guidance associated with providing public comment as stated in policy 1420F. By remaining in the meeting, those present consent to being recorded and displayed in the footage that will be posted on the school district's website. Welcome everybody. There will be an opportunity for community comments on non-agenda items at the end, but we're going to start our meeting with an executive session, so I got to read that. We'll be exiting for a little bit, and then we'll be back. So, the next matter to come before the board is a personal matter, and I have determined as follows: that the matter of the individual's privacy has evolved, that such privacy demands protection of the individual, and otherwise little, if anything, can be gained by publicly disclosing the information to be discussed. The demand for individual privacy clearly outweighs the demand for public disclosure. Therefore, I'm calling executive session. We will be back.
Yep. Does the recording have to be on throughout the executive session?
Yes, technically.
Everybody understands that?
It's very
That mic will pick up everything you say, so be careful with your speak box.
Things have gotten a little loose now.
You had a t-shirt on, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I go. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the executive session?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any further questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student A with a follow-up meeting in August for potential re-enrollment?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any further comments? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, on to administrative report, superintendent.
Okay, so we got West Side, Mr. Vandell talked about all the events they had going on. They had their Northeast Arts they had their family reading night, and then she did get into the academic and behavior intervention teams. Those are teams that meet pretty consistently. At the elementary level, they discuss behavior situations with specific kids, and then also they get into the academics, where students might be struggling, and then interventions that they can put in. Central, kind of the same. She talked about their MTSS behavior team and intervention team. They basically do the same thing, except they use Swiss data. It's a different program. I think the other schools are using Infinite Campus. It's pretty detailed, but they go through all of those, and they were able to kind of see where some students actually, I believe, exited from those. So the interventions that they've chosen for some of those students were working. And then she did talk about what the SOAR team has going on. It looked like they were building some ramps. Middle school, Mrs. Koppel talked about, they did a food drive for the Brawl the Wild in November for the Cat Grizz game. And then they also winter sports. So your fall sports are wrapping up as your winter sports are getting geared up. Sidney High School, Mr. Dennison and Mr. Coriel, they actually have some pretty good information on there about some behavior data comparing last year to this year. Actually, it looks like, looking at the data, it's down pretty good from last year. Hopefully, it continues in that direction, but it's nice to kind of, for you to take a look at that data, and even the attendance, which I know Mr. Coriel stresses about, but the attendance was actually even a little bit better in looking at the data, so that's always kind of good to see in comparing from year to year. Let's see, Mrs. Munson, she talked about the preschool screening that's scheduled for February 10th and 11th. Some of that actually sets up our preschool for the following year. And we'll be talking about how the K-1 program, that half-day kindergarten program, won't be called that anymore, and that's going to evolve to match our early literacy program. And then Mr. Barnhart, he sent out the survey. It was a survey for our grant, one of the connections grant that we get. So we ended up sending a team of teachers at the high school for the training for Link Crew, and that's that beginning of the year where they have the mentor kind of students that bring in the new students and show them around. It's actually a really cool program. And then he also had the responses from that survey on there. It's kind of interesting, not a lot changed. It had a few, not a lot less responses, but I would say it's a fairly accurate survey, especially when you look at the percentage comparison on that. Superintendent report. Enrollment, last month was 1,227. We're at 1,230 as of this morning. Tracy and I got to look that up this morning, so that should be fairly accurate. We're up 3 from last month. And you can see some of the schools, they've kind of gone up and down a little bit. District project, Central School, we have the concrete seal, it's done. B&B will come in and do the particle board replacement and the cement replacement in the back and in the front next spring and summer. High school AC project, I'll talk about that in a little bit. It is moving forward. We actually had a couple engineers that came into the high school last week to look at the structural design that we have right now currently and what we may need to add if we move forward with that project. So it was good to actually see some movement on that. I believe Shannon Click was one of the engineers from Interstate that went in, and then Tegan, he was the engineer that we used for the high school roof project when Dexter Keel, when they came in and did that. So he's also going to be involved in that. So basically what I'm going to do with that, and that's the first thing I have on my list, as I get emails from them, I'm going to send them along to you so you have that information. That way we're not trying to talk about all of it at one board meeting and try to make a decision then. you'll be getting the information as we go. So should be able to make an informed decision once we're ready to pull the trigger on that project. Or if it costs too much, my biggest concern is how much materials have gone up in the last year and a half or 2 years. So it might not be something, I believe it was around 400,000 when we first were looking at it. I'm hoping that hasn't doubled, but we'll take a look once we get some of those numbers, and I'll get that to you. I did sit in on Tuesday, December 3rd, with Jessica Gilbert and Tim Clark, talking about a parent coaching and mental health and wellness program that they received grants for. We'll actually be utilizing that program as basically what the school's taken on a very large role when you start looking at mental health and wellness with students, and we're really not equipped to deal with some of the situations that come up just because we don't have the training. We don't have a formal school psychologist that works with that. So this will basically be just more resources that we'll be able to point parents towards. This one, it has access to online parenting training, one-on-one video calls with mental health coaches, group sessions on specific topics, and customized journal prompts from the coaches. So basically, they're dealing with a range from emotional awareness, focus, friendships, bullying, anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation. So it covers a broad range of topics, but it's definitely, it'll be good resources for parents if need be. Giving Tuesday, I was asked by the chamber to speak at their Giving Tuesday event. So that was last Tuesday, December 3rd. I was at the South 40. So basically they kind of had a progressive dinner, if you didn't hear about that. I spoke with 2 different groups on the Angel Fund. So the Angel Fund is every school has an Angel Fund, and we use that, like we have outstanding lunch balances, especially for families that don't qualify for state and federal aid. So we can pay those balances down for them when they honestly, that threshold to qualify for state and federal aid is not very high. So there's families that definitely struggle, especially around the holidays. So we'll be utilizing those funds again to help with some of those outstanding balances. Last year we spent approximately $2,500 paying those down, and then we did just get a check just recently. Well, so far the donations from the Giving Tuesday is about $600, so $595.
Yeah, and then we got 1,000 from Phoenix.
And then we got a $1,000 donation from Fink Dental.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll probably look, especially now since it's around the holidays, we'll start looking at some of those balances and pay those down. It's not a perfect process. Like sometimes we'll just take every negative balance and pay all of them down. That hasn't necessarily been popular because some families, they get frustrated that we did it because they were going to come in and pay. But it's just something like we don't know every family, we don't know their situation, so it's something that we can do to help them out. NEMAS meeting, I attended the NEMAS meeting virtually on Wednesday, December 4th. Brian Michelotti spoke at this. There's going to be some changes so like right now, every athlete can get $100 on, say, shooting shirts, things like that they can keep. That amount's going to actually bump up to like $500 after they go through their vote at their annual meeting in January. And then they actually started talking about the NIL. I'm sure you've heard a lot about that at the college level, where athletes can get paid for their brand name, and they're starting to see that at the high school level. I think we're one of 13 states that doesn't allow that. We wouldn't be seeing amounts though like you're seeing at the college level. It'd be like for example, if Action Auto decided that they wanted to have a commercial with one of our athletes, and that the athlete could actually get paid for their time doing it, if that's what Action Auto wanted to do. So you're talking about probably a couple $100 versus millions of dollars that you would see from Deion Sanders' son at Colorado. I mean, it's a minor amount, but there are some athletes already in the Billings area that would be eligible for some of that, so they're looking at potentially allowing that. I'm kind of on the fence as far as that goes, but I'm on the fence with the college side of it too, but that's not my decision to make. We also talked about the accreditation process. Mr. Barnhart and I will start looking into that. We did that last year. We're going to take a look at what we did last year, see what adjustments that we need to make moving forward. They did say that for any change that you make, you have to have a vote on a new piece of basically your strategic plan. So we'll be voting on, or I'll have you vote on a few pieces of the strategic plan, and then specifically the graduate profile that we have to create for that. That's already been created, but we'll take a look at that again. And then they talked a little bit about the legislative session. It sounds like the governor is going to be giving more money to schools, but there's also talk with that money that they're gonna be trying to save it for down the road, which you never know what that means. So we'll take a look at that. There hasn't been a lot of legislative talk yet. And normally by now I've already gotten hundreds of emails, and there just hasn't, Dan Farr hasn't been quite as active this year. That was always nice when he was, because he would send weekly updates and they were very detailed, but hopefully we'll get our lobbyist hired. Baker is looking into a lobbyist for us for the oil and gas portion of it for that, so I'll give you information on that once we just pick a lobbyist for that. Resignations, Matthew Boltler, he gave a verbal resignation for the 3rd grade teaching position. Crystal Quiroz, Assistant Superintendent Curriculum Director, and then transfer we have Jenny Poos, West Side paraprofessional from middle school paraprofessional. Okay, starting on page 15 are the meeting minutes from November. I should really just pull this one so I'm not. We did not end up getting all of the county financials in, correct? So we'll have those for you for the January meeting. Page 19 is what we do have for our financial reports. I believe there was a check register. We had one check we had to cancel. That was Ben Bird's coaching check, was lost in the mail. So we had to reissue a check for him. And then more check register for November on page 23. That would be for your ASB accounts. Most of those are going to be paying for travel, like meals, and then some of it would be like rep checks, things like that. So the majority of those. On page 36, that would be the second reading of Board Policy 5120F, the determination form. So that allows Lauren Barnhart the ability to look at background checks. And then first reading of Board Policy 5333 on 37, we talked about the additional holiday pay for full-time 12-month, 2,080 hours, 260-day contracted classified employees. I added some additional language and included July 5th, Friday after Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, and New Year's Eve for those employees. And then the additional information below kind of talks about basically what happens if those holidays were to fall like on a Sunday. They don't get to like use the following Monday, so it's all worded in there pretty well. Starting on page 38 is the MTSUIP unemployment insurance through MTSBA. I did talk to Mr. Sykes a little bit about that. It's something that we are given through MTSBA. I don't ever remember having to sign an agreement with it, but I'm sure something changed with them, so they need an agreement signed on that. So that takes us to the consent agenda. Any questions?
So I do on the minutes.
Yes.
So we have a $250 stipend. That was part of our audit. That
Oh, yeah,
we shouldn't be doing it.
we should tax it.
We should
Supposed to go
tax
through
it.
payroll.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are we gonna,
We talked to our auditor about it this last time.
are we taxing it?
We weren't going to this
No.
time, but we were going to moving forward after talking with them.
Okay.
We did talk to him about it.
I know.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see what we have a plan or.
Yeah, we have a plan for that. So next year, everything will have to be done through payroll.
Okay.
How many years have you done?
He said that it would be, if
It's
the
a federal.
IRS ever,
If it was a federal audit, it would be,
yeah,
it
then
would
we
be a
would
finding.
get
Yeah.
finding on it.
He was actually really good, by the way.
He was really good.
Yeah.
Really informational. I would recommend
I think he's
everybody
gonna
here
be the
come
one.
to it next time we have one, but.
Yeah.
Where's he from?
I think.
Was he
oh,
from Helena?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it was Helena.
yeah, he was really good.
He was,
He's with the same company.
he was, is probably the most informational that one of those has ever been. Normally it's just like, we had this mining, but we're already taking care of it. He never really explained it. Like, he explained everything pretty well. I really liked it anyway.
It was
Yeah.
every little, he was really, I really.
Good,
liked
bad,
it.
or indifferent,
Yeah.
so.
Okay. Consent agenda? We're good?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay. Approval of minutes. All recorded board meeting minutes must be reviewed and approved at the following board meeting. As you review the meeting minutes, please make note of any additions or changes that need to be made. Recommend to approve the board meeting minutes for the board meeting on November 18th, 2024 with any noted or necessary agreed upon changes. Warrants and claims in accordance with board policy 7326. All financial obligations and disbursements must be properly documented. The documentation must specifically describe the goods, services acquired in the proper budget item for appropriation. Recommend to approve all claims, payments, and cancellations as presented. ASB accounts and transfers in accordance with board policy 7425. The board of trustees shall conduct a monthly review of the ASB account balances reported by the deputy fund custodian. Recommend to approve ASB balances, transfers, payments, and voided checks as presented above. Second reading, update to district bank account signatures due to the resignation of the payroll personnel position. Updated signatures were needed to the district bank accounts effective December of 2024. And you can see with Stockman Bank, with the Sidney Public Schools payroll account, Lauren Barnhart would be added. Casey DeShane's name would be taken off. And then the flex spending account, Casey's name would be taken off of that. Lauren Barnhart's name would be added. Second reading, board policy 5120F determination form. This form allows Lauren Barnhart to view background checks and complete the determination form accordingly. Recommend to approve the second reading of board policy 5120F. First reading, board policy 5333 holidays. That was what we discussed at the last meeting. I made additions to that. Recommend to approve the first reading of board policy 5333 as presented. MTSUIP, unemployment health insurance. This contract was sent to the district from MTSBA. We've been using them for our unemployment insurance for the past few decades. Tracy and I had some questions about this, so we referred to Nikki and she confirmed that this is the company that's had our unemployment insurance for MTSBA. When looking at the cost of the coverage, the state unemployment ratio of fund to total wages is 0.026. The ratio for MTSUIP is 0.0032. We've not had any issues with this group in the past, and with a less expensive rate, it makes sense to continue utilizing this insurance. This insurance is offered to us yearly through MTSUIP membership. Recommend to approve the contract with MTSUIP unemployment insurance. New hires, Lindsay Bowers, third grade teacher. Shannon Stevens, half sped, half office, middle school secretary. So she's actually a half sped secretary for Mrs. Munson, and then half office, middle school secretary. Recommend to approve the employment of the recommended hire for the 24-25 school year pending reference and background checks. And that's a consent agenda.
Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
There is really nothing for the discussion action agenda. We will have some things to approve for the accreditation process moving forward. And then probably January, I'll have Tracy send out a superintendent evaluation form for you to fill out. And then you can get that back to Tracy. She'll put it into the spreadsheet, and we'll do my evaluation at the January meeting. I did send an email today. I'm not sure if all of you had a chance to look at it. It was good information in terms of superintendent contracts. So next year will be the last year of my 3-year contract. So it's one of those things like, and again, I'm not sending that because I want you to get rid of me. It's more so your information of, if you look to go a different direction, you have to do it before February 1st, because I would automatically get another year at that point if you don't act by then. So again, not wanting you to get rid of me, just giving you the information that you should all have anyway. And that's all I have.
Anyone else? Anyone else there? Oh, you guys gotta stand up and introduce yourself.
You said that. You can bring your sheets up here to get signed.
Anyone else? One else, no advice? Danger.